100% for you. Sorry. Thank you. I mean, that's kind of my...
Hey, how are you? Good. Good.
Perfect. I know. I was the first one here.
Late, I walked in. I'm like, oh, they're getting it through. In there.
You can sit. I'm just trying to...
It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, no. Yeah, because actually, sometimes I need the full, like,
Awesome. Well, thank you all for doing that for me. We just haven't updated a lot of our photos recently, and I was creating our webpage handout, which we'll get to in a little bit, and I was like, these are a bit old. So we'll refresh a couple of them. We'll get an amazing presentation by Cory, and then we'll go into some CHIP workgroup updates on our mental health and housing groups. We updated our mission, vision, and values, so we'll kind of get into that and how we did that, and then we can share out at the end. So I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. All right. My name is Cory Kundert. I am the CEO of Kundert Construction, and today I'm here to talk about serving the community, leadership that builds lasting impact. A little bit about myself. So coming up on 2 years at Kundert Construction. Kundert Construction was, it's my brother's company. He started back in 1998. Back then it was a lot of smaller projects. He was doing roofs and windows and decks and barn roofs and things like that. Him and a couple of buddies, and over the years it's really taken off. So about 5 years ago my brother got into this coaching program called the Contractor Fight, and it really helped accelerate the business, get kind of a good foundation for what the future of the business looks like. And 2 years ago I came on board, and my mission here is to help build the brand, build awareness to who we are, what we do. We have a greater mission than just building homes and remodels and additions. It's to elevate the trades. It's to get people excited about joining the trades and all that stuff. So that's kind of my primary role. So I do marketing, sales, business development, and that sort of thing within the company, and then strategic stuff like looking to the future and seeing what we're trying to do and what we're trying to impact. On top of that, I do a lot of speaking. So I do a lot of community speaking. The Greene County Leader Program is near and dear to my heart, and so I'm very involved in that. Also do some different community sessions, but I also speak in the construction industry. So I've worked with a couple of different companies, Corker and Glass and Paint up in Appleton, PDC here in Monroe, also ABC Wisconsin. I regularly speak at conferences and sessions for them there. NARI of Madison, the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. And lastly, I had the opportunity this year to go out to Salt Lake City and speak at the ABC National Convention, where we talked about elevating the trades and what we do here from a workforce perspective to trying to get people into the trades. So an exceptional opportunity. Never thought I'd do that. In my second year, I was able to do that. So it's pretty awesome. But this is what we're going to talk about in the next 45 minutes or so. So why communities are built, housing through a local construction lens, leadership beyond titles, seeing change from the outside, serving your community as a strategic advantage, and finally, a challenge to lead where you live. So this is where my story started. I grew up on a gravel road in the woods called Kundert Road. There was 2 houses on this road here. My dad actually drove. They bought the house. This was well before I was born. They bought the house and moved it, and my dad had the chance to drive the truck. He wasn't exactly excited about that. It was a big sweeping corner. It took an entire day to move the house, but this is where the foundation for me started, and my brother. Going outside, playing in the woods, finding cool sticks and all that fun stuff. I love my upbringing here. Kundert Road, south of Monroe. It was 8-minute drive into town, but Monroe's always been home to me. It's been an incredible place to grow up. I was actively involved in wrestling, football, and baseball my entire life growing up. Now I have the opportunity, after college, my wife and I moved back and have the opportunity to coach my daughters in sports. We're doing soccer and t-ball and coach pitch softball this year. I have a son as well who I'm hoping gets into sports, who's a big part of my life too. And Monroe was always where I wanted to end up. They bring you home, right? And so for me, growing up here, I had a lot of inspiration. Part of it was, seeing my brother start to grow his business, right? Seeing the impact of teachers and people that I had throughout the years really impacted my life and helped me realize this is the place I want to be. And so when I think about communities are built, right? There's so many people in our community and throughout Greene County who put a lot of time and effort into this place, right? I wasn't always that guy. Over the last couple of years, I've really dove deep into community involvement, community service, and it's been extremely impactful for me. But these three words right here, housing, leadership, and ownership. Why do you guys think I'd put those three words up there? Other than the fact that I'm talking about housing and leadership. Any thoughts?
Needed for a community.
Yeah, it's needed for a community.
I see a lot of intersections with like ownership and what you have written beneath that as far as like the sort of responsibility and also opportunity to get involved.
Yeah. Communities change when ordinary people decide to take responsibility for where they live and work. What happens if we don't focus on housing? What happens if we don't have leaders who show up ready to make a difference? And what happens if we don't own it? We could have a thriving community. If we stop focusing on those things, what happens? We're going to start to dip, right? So this is why this is really important to me. And on the housing side, to me, housing is everything. It's kind of the foundation of what we're looking at as a community. If you don't have housing that's continuing to grow, if you're not right-sizing people into their homes, if seniors don't have an opportunity to go into homes that work for them, it's a real challenge for our community. So every house that we build, so thinking of Kundert Construction, we build anywhere from 7 to 15 new homes a year. Most of that is in Greene County. Now our goal over the next few years is to get to 30 a year. That might have to expand a little beyond Greene County, but there's a huge need here, right? And we love working in Greene County. We love working in our communities because these are the people we interact with, right? But every house we build affects far more than the people living inside it. What else does it affect? What do you guys think?
The other trades, electricians,
Yep.
insulators.
Yeah, we have subcontractors. So we're a general contractor. So we have electricians, plumbers, drywallers, all of that. If we're not doing our job to get new homes and different projects, that's not going to help them, right? They kind of rely on some of the general contractors to get some of that work, right? We employ almost 20 people on our team. Do you think that matters to them? Absolutely. I think I do a lot of sales on our team, and if I'm not doing my job, we're not going to feed our families, right? If we're not out there getting the work ahead of us, making those relationships, building those connections, there's nearly 20 families who could be affected by that. So I got that in my head every time I'm having a sales call. It's really, really important. There's a lot more to it, but we'll move on. So housing through a construction lens, I will say that, at least from our perspective at Kundert Construction, we are, the phone will not stop ringing right now. And that's great, right? Especially with, where interest rates are at, where, prices of everything continue to go up. But last year alone, we had 200 leads for the year. We have 195 leads this year already. And a lead is anybody who calls or sends a web form saying, hey, we got some work to do. Now, some of those don't even get into our system, but we still track them. because we want to know the volume that's coming in. But this is what we see every day. Young families trying to stay local or move back. Trent, you moved back, right?
Right next to you.
Right next to you. We were neighbors for 5 years probably. How hard was it to find a house at that time?
Even then it was difficult, but prices were lower back then.
Way lower.
So,
Yeah, I bought my house in 2015 for $123,500. 2,000 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath. I sold that 7 years later for $239,000. And I'd put $10,000 into it. So just for perspective, that's how housing has gone. And since then, it's gone even higher. You know, I still get emails about that house from Zillow, and it's saying it's like worth $280,000, which is pretty wild to think about. But that's the trend we've seen over the last 10, 12 years. So for a young family trying to move back or move into the community, Ellie, you're a good example, right? How difficult was it to find a house right now?
Really hard.
Yeah. But you found one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Took 6 months and 80 houses later.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard. And part of it is the rising costs, right? We're talking about the rising costs. Even on the addition remodeling side of things, we're seeing a lot of people wanting to add on to their homes, want to remodel their existing homes, and the price of that stuff is pretty high right now too. But there's a lot of people who would rather stay within their walls than go find a new place or build a new place because there's attachment to it, right? My parents moved probably 6 years ago now into town from the gravel road, and it was hard. They lived there for 45 years, and for them to pull away, they haven't even driven by it. That's how emotional it is for them. And so thinking about some of the, I talk a lot about right sizing, so getting people into the right sized home. We have a lot of folks who are a little bit older who have 4-bedroom homes where it'd be a great spot for a younger family that's moving in, but there's attachment to that, right? So how do we blend that? How do we make those things work? So I also see a lot of older homes needing major investment, and employers struggling to attract talent. That can be pretty difficult too, with the lack of housing. I love the fact that there's so many subdivisions in and around Monroe right now that are coming about because it creates more opportunities for folks. And whether that's the right sizing piece of it, whether it's new families coming in, all of that. So when I think of housing, it impacts our workforce, our families, our schools, and obviously community health. But this is the workforce reality I'm seeing right now is young families struggling to buy homes. Rising costs creating barriers to entry, especially on the first-time home buyer side. I couldn't imagine spending $300,000 as a first-time home buyer. But that's kind of the reality for a lot of it, right? We have an aging housing stock, lack of right sizing, and then back to that talent as well. So we interact with a lot of folks in our communities within Greene County, right? Again, we've had 200 people pick up the phone and call us this year about wanting to do a project. I'd say 90 to 93% of that is Greene County residents. So I have a pretty good pulse on it. This is what we're hearing, and this is what we're seeing. Families are becoming overwhelmed with cost and uncertainty. There's a lot that goes into it. Home projects tied to emotional life moments. Sometimes somebody ends up in the hospital. They need to make their house more accessible. They need ramps, things like that. That's becoming more and more common. Older homeowners struggling to maintain their homes. That's a big thing too. And lastly, housing can be deeply connected to dignity and stability. You hear a lot from the baby boomer generation of, I'm not leaving my house. This is my home. And like my parents, they're deeply connected to that space. So that creates a housing challenge. It's a very emotional time for for folks that are in that arena. So what's the ripple effect? When we think of housing, we have our workforce. So can employers attract and retain talent? We have our businesses. Can communities continue growing? It's that sense of belonging. Do people feel connected to where they live? Our schools, our young families staying in the community or coming to the community? And families, can people build a stable future? So I talked about Greene County Leaders. That was an incredible program. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago I graduated from the program, and that program itself inspired me to take action. Being able to hear from so many different community leaders, to be able to see the impact you can make by getting involved, lit a fire in me. And so for me, my first immediate action was to hop on the curriculum committee for Greene County Leaders. I spent a lot of my career in the organizational development space, so teaching leadership and employee development classes, and so it was a natural fit for me to do that. But being able to tie it into the communities that I love serving worked out really well. So since I joined Kundert Construction a couple years ago, I really, you probably see me everywhere if you're involved in the community. So I've joined I'm a chamber ambassador for Monroe Chamber. I serve on a couple of committees for the city of Monroe now. I'm in a few different construction industry related boards and committees as well. But part of my job is to do business development, but one of my strong suits, and if you know me, you probably agree that I'm pretty solid at building relationships. Like, I love learning about people, connecting with people, understanding who they are, what they do, why they want to do it. And for me, it's not just, hey, I know this person. It's, no, I truly care about you if I get to know you on that level. So for me, being able to really dive deep into our communities and give back in the way I've been able to the last couple of years, it's not only helped our business, but it's really helped me grow. And I feel like I've made an impact in certain areas. So when I think about leadership, especially from a community perspective, it's about ownership, right? I joined the curriculum committee because I had a passion to give back to that program, and I want to own my role in that, right? I joined some committees for the city because I firmly believe in what the city's trying to do and continue to grow and prosper, and I wanted to be a part of that, right? Communities improve when people decide to care, and that for me was a big turning point. Being Greene County Leaders, I was able to really open up my eyes on what's actually happening within our communities, within our county. And before that, I was a guy who would sit at home, wasn't super involved. I was really trying to find my way. I actually, in college, I was a president of a student organization called Rotaract, where we did a lot of volunteering and community service, and really enjoyed that, but never really found that time or commitment, or made the commitment to get involved when I got back home. And now it's great. And so I know a lot of you in the room here do serve and give back, but for me, it's been a game changer to be involved there. And honestly, responsibility matters more than recognition. It's great that, people know people for being involved in certain things, right? But that's not what it's about. It's about the impact you're making. It's about owning your responsibility in what you're doing, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to flip this a little bit and talk about what happens when someone invests in a person. And we at Kundert Construction are deeply involved in trying to develop our people and develop the industry as a whole. And I got 2 really good case studies we'll talk about from Monroe High School here in a minute. But I have this personal mantra of people first always. And so for me, I'm always thinking about the impact I'm making on somebody, whether I'm making a positive impact, whether I have to let somebody go. I think about what it looks like to be on the other end of that message. And so I come into a lot of situations with that people first mentality, and part of it I think is from my ability or my experience in healthcare, in the financial services industry, just kind of how I'm wired. I like to, be a positive impact on people. So sometimes the greatest thing we build is confidence in another person. And I know I've had a lot of people in my life who have really built that in me. And so I'm at a position now where I feel like I can do that. And part of our mission, again, is to elevate the trades. And being able to do that as part of it is great. So what happens when someone invests in a person? Say we have a student, they discover their purpose. An employee becomes a leader. A family builds stability. A young person chooses to stay local. A community becomes stronger. So investing in people, investing in what you're passionate about can lead to a stronger community. We have a few great case studies about students, and I hope that continues to be the trend over the next few years. We want to be known as a company that develops people and gets them to their goals. I'm actually starting some visioning with our employees. We're going to dive into some personal vision and the business vision and try to tie it all together and see where we're going, because we're at this rapid growth stage right now, and there's a lot of things that can occur when you're growing at the scale we're growing. And so I don't want to lose sight of our culture and our people, and I want to really tie their personal development into what we're doing. So this is what we are trying to do. So the mission is to elevate the trades. It's more than construction. It's a movement. And it's starting to catch on a little bit throughout the state and nationally. I had some really great conversations out at the National Convention with some people out in Connecticut, and they were really on board and trying to get me to go out to Connecticut, but I don't know if I can travel to Connecticut for some one-offs. But this is really what we're focusing on, right? So leadership, workforce development, community impact, purpose, opportunity, and pride in the trades. So kind of big bucket things, but each one of them serves a purpose, right? And for me, getting opportunities to stand in front of the room and have conversations like this, to have one-on-one conversations. Kara and I have conversations quite a bit about, connecting the dots between the industry and the schools. Victoria and I have conversations about a lot of different aspects within our community as well, and just being able to have an impact, especially on the workforce development piece, is really exciting to me. This kid right here, Carson Bardoff, I'll show you a video here in a few minutes, but exceptional student. He's not what you would think of as a traditional carpenter, right? He comes from a family, his mom's a teacher, his dad's a lawyer. He figured out 2 years ago that he wanted to be a carpenter, and his parents are fully supportive of that. That's one of the things that's been really one of our barriers, is to get kind of flip that perception for parents that it's okay if your kid wants to get into the trades. So about a year ago, I get an email from Kara and said, "Hey, we have this high school student. He's really interested in carpentry. Do you have any youth apprentice opportunities?" Yeah, let's talk about it. And at that point, he went over to Kara. You did a mock interview, right, with him? Because he had never done an interview in his life. And then the next day he came in, and we knew he was a great fit for us. Really hardworking, personality that fit in with our team. Didn't have a lot of experience, but I'd take the culture fit over experience any time. So he came in, he started working part-time, and then he was full-time over the summer, and the crew just loves him. Super hardworking, you never see him not working, fits in really well, and I've already told him he's going to be a leader for our company someday. He hasn't even graduated high school yet, but we can already see it in him. Just the ability to grasp onto things and learn quickly and have the right attitude has taken him really far. So he recently signed on to, we had a signing day last week, last Monday, where we have two high school kids who are going to be full-time with us starting after high school. So Carson is one of them, and then Owen Hicks is another one. Another great kid. He's in the home construction cooperative program, and really trying to figure out his path in life, and he ended up coming in for an interview and did a really great job. And again, he's a kid that he never stops working. If you see him not moving, there's probably a reason. If he's either picking up or sweeping, if he doesn't have anything else to do, he's doing a really great job too. So excited for the future for these two, but I'll show you a video of our signing day. It was a lot of fun. You see this at sports, or for sports for college and things like that, but we wanted to create something different for our two that are coming on, and we're hoping this is going to be a continual pattern every year where we can get at least one to join our team every year. So let's play the video. It does lag a little bit, but
Kundert Construction's first official signing day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Two high school kids that been working with us for the year here. And decided to sign on, so at least we think so.
yeah, hope so. We only got one hat here, so no, it's been awesome to have you guys on the team. Both of you have shown a ton of initiative. Carson, you officially went through the youth apprenticeship program, and just the fact that you were interested in carpentry, you took the steps to meet with Ms. Carper, come here, interview, and go through that whole process, and then be out here and talk to the crew and learn. It's been awesome. So Carson, thanks for everything so far. Excited for your future. And Owen, thank you for showing the initiative and coming and diving right in, and you've been a great fit here too. So we're really excited to have you guys join the team here. But this is just the first step, right? You've been learning a little bit here, but once you're full-time, everybody sitting out here, that's who you're learning from, okay?
Soak in as much knowledge as you can.
Yep, be a sponge.
There's a lot out there.
Yep.
No, it doesn't look like it. There is a lot out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of knowledge, and we're just really excited for the future here. So, Carson, you got anything to say?
Just thank you for taking time and helping me learn. I've learned quite a bit, and being able to use a little bit with my uncle's house. He just moved, and also some family members do a little projects. I can pitch in a little bit more.
Awesome.
Just thank you everybody for teaching me how to do it. It's really helpful, and you can always reach out to any of you guys.
All right. Well, let's put pen to paper and sign it up here, and then we'll give a round of applause to these guys. All right, guys. That's what it's all about. That's why we do what we do. To be able to create opportunities like that. This is the future of our company, and these are future community leaders too. Being able to invest in them, being able to invest in this next generation, it's incredible. And honestly, it is an investment, right? It's not easy, and it's not. It definitely costs a lot of money to be able to invest in people like this. We have four now less experienced carpenters on our team, and so we try and pair them with at least two experienced folks so they can get well-rounded experience and education. And from there, we do ask our lead carpenters to spend a little extra time, right? But that little extra time, say 10 extra minutes on this task, showing them how to do it, getting set up for success, that's going to lead them to be more efficient later on. So it's an investment now that'll hopefully pay off in the future. But it's for moments like that, right? To be able to share the story, to be able to talk to the ones that are joining the industry and are going to make a difference.
So today is
There we go. All right, so for me, seeing the change from the inside. Now, the last 2 years I've been able to officially be a part of the business. I've started to see how everything ties together, right? Part of that's from my experience with Greene County leaders, but part of it's just being involved and being invested in things. And over time I started realizing that housing affects workforce. Workforce affects families. Families affect schools. Schools affect communities. And leadership affects it all. If we don't have leaders that are here trying to make a difference in our communities, we're not going to have opportunities for our communities to continue to grow. So this is what changed my perspective the most. I'm pretty involved now. I do a lot of coffee chats and things like that, but sitting with people, having real conversations about our community, understanding needs, wants, desires for our community. None of this falls under my job description, right? I'm the CEO of a construction company. Does it really matter what's affecting certain people in our community? To me, it does. Because I want to help the community grow. I want to help our community thrive and prosper and do all that. Without having real conversations with people, without understanding needs and wants and desires, and understanding the issues, I'm not going to be able to make a difference. I'm not going to be able to put my feet where I feel like I can make the most impact. And so, if you're kind of on the fence about being involved more, take a look around. See if there are things that you're really passionate about, things where you feel like you can make a difference. That's what I've done. And by having these conversations and being involved in the things that I'm involved in, it's really filled my cup up, and it's really helped me as well. But collaboration creates change, okay? Not one person is going to make a difference. They may make a small difference, but they're not going to create the change you may desire. So builders alone can't solve housing, right? Schools alone can't solve workforce issues. Government alone cannot solve community health. Meaningful change happens together. So this is a picture here. We hosted a contractor roundtable where we had a bunch of schools and contractors into our office, and we talked about the issues. We've hosted 2 of these with Greene County Development Corporation, and we were able to dive into some of these issues around housing and workforce and zoning and all sorts of things. But this was our first one, and you can see there was 30, 40 people in this room ready to engage in conversations to make a difference. All it took was one invite to make that happen. Now, did we solve all the problems that day, all the issues? No. That takes time. But there were 30 or 40 people ready to bridge the gap. Kara, were you at that one? Can you talk a little bit about the experience of that and what that was like?
I think it was enlightening. So I think contractors talk quite a bit with each other, so I think you understand each other's issues. I think it was helpful for especially school leadership to hear that what we're doing and what we're striving for is we're going in the right direction. Because we asked, how can we better prepare our kids? And the things that we heard back were like, okay, yeah, show up on time, be ready to work, notice what needs to be done. They don't need to know all the skills they can learn at work, but if they have those durable skills and again, we're working a lot on that. All the school districts are district-wide, making sure that our students graduate with that. So that I think that was helpful for our school leaders to hear that, yes, this is the right direction, these are the right things to do. It was a little disheartening to hear so many contractors talk about how unprepared a lot of adults are for the workforce. And so again, I was personally a little taken aback with that about just the amount of people that stay. Oh boy, how can we again we're trying to set students up in the right direction. And how can we ensure that as they get older and as they change jobs and do different things, that they have those good durable skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kara, for sharing. This one was special because we had representatives from every district in the county there. So we were able to have really great communication about what the schools are offering and providing and what the contractors are looking for. And so be able to try and bridge that gap and make some changes that'll hopefully create that change is helpful. And so that wasn't just a conversation between you and I. That was a big conversation with 30, 40 people. And I think there were some changes that were made because of that. And I've seen some really positive results. So it's things like that, bringing people together, having conversations. Sometimes these are challenging conversations, right? But we have to have them. So when I think of community involvement, I think about it as a strategic advantage for a business as well. So community-minded organizations attract more talent and prospects. Since we've been more actively involved, and we tell the story, right? We tell the story about the impact that we're trying to make with our Elevate the Trades mission. With we set trusses for the Home Construction Cooperative House, and I film a lot of content, and I get people on camera talking about different things, and we help host Trades Day at the high school, getting students hands-on work in the trades. It's great to do those things, but it's also great to tell that story, right? And we don't tell that story because, hey, look at me. It's no, look at the impact that's happening, right? And so this is just a short list of some of the ways that we give back. But part of this, I've been thinking about different ways that we can do this, and I kind of have an idea of asking everybody in our company, what nonprofit organization, event, whatever that is, what are you most passionate about, and how can we help make a difference in that? Haven't had that conversation yet, but I think it's definitely worth noting. But from a business standpoint, we do the morning mess on Big Radio every week on Thursday mornings, and so there's times where we talk about this stuff. We actually had Carson Bardoff on last week talking about his experience working for us, and just continuing to tell those stories is very impactful, and people see that and people notice that. But like I said, it has to be done in an authentic way, right? You can't just be saying, hey, look at me, we donated money. Why did you do that? Why did you want to be involved in that? What kind of impact did you make? Those things make a big difference. So I got a couple of questions I want you guys to talk about before we wrap things up here. So I want you to pair up with somebody and answer these two questions here. Who helped build your community growing up, and how did they impact you? I got a couple other questions on the next slide, but take a few minutes, chat with the person next to you about these questions here, and then I'll ask for some volunteers after that.
I grew up in Madison, then moved to Belleville,
Well, I'm originally from Darlington, so it was a smaller town, but
And probably for non-under services, we partner with, a lot from leaving services, but yeah, we don't know everybody's availability, we don't go to the meeting. Yes.
I feel like it's
All right, I'll give you one more minute, then we'll come back.
Right, right.
All right, let's come back as a group. All right, I'm looking for 2 volunteers to just debrief about what you talked about. 2 volunteers. I didn't see all the hands shoot up. All right, Tracy.
I think we were given a lot of credit to teachers. Like,
Yeah.
a really good teacher makes a huge impact on a child's life. I think we kind of said that.
Yeah, I had Mr. Carey, tech ed teacher, Monroe High School, made a huge impact on my life. He probably doesn't even realize it, but that's the thing about teachers is they're impacting students across, sometimes generations, and they deserve a lot of credit for what they do. I have an opportunity to volunteer my daughter's first grade class, and it's amazing to see what goes on. So awesome. Anything else? One more volunteer, Tom.
Like I was telling them, I said, when I was going to school, I didn't care much about school. It's for sports,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned a lot of leadership through there.
Yep.
And when I got older and had kids, working with them in order to advance what they like to do and get involved in the community that way and make a better life for them and other kids in town.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thanks for sharing, Tom. All right, so communities are not built by change. They're built by people who invest in others. They stay engaged. They lead with ownership. They create opportunities, and they choose to care deeply about where they live and work. Eventually, every community becomes a reflection of what its people were willing to build. It's a pretty powerful statement. Every community becomes a reflection of what its people were willing to build. So if you're not involved to the level that you want, obviously there's lots of things that are happening in life. I have 3 kids, 7 and under, and I still make time somehow to grow gray hair and be involved. But it's a big difference. So here's my challenge. I want you to think about this question right here. What are you helping to build? Think about it. See if there's ways that you can help build more, be involved more, even if it's just, sitting and having a conversation with somebody, right? Having a coffee chat with somebody who you look up to or who you want to understand a bit more about. Creating those connections, having the courage to step out and do what you want to do and make the impact you want to make will make a huge difference. So that's what I got. Thank you all. This was fun and hope it was valuable. So thank you. Yeah.
Do we have time for questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm super curious. I appreciate like what you're saying about housing and leadership and community and families and everything. I'm also really curious in your perspective on neighborhoods. And where I'm coming from on that side is I'm thinking about the futurists who sort of started at the housing summit. And I'm also thinking about the components of housing that are kind of like in between cities or villages and developers, right? Like I think about walkability, I think about bikeability and being able to get to different locations and feeling like, you know, you can just easily connect to a neighbor and have that like neighborhood sense of community. So I'm just like interested in your perspective on that and how you see that fitting into these different components. Maybe I missed it, but that just seemed like a scale. Like I appreciate everything you covered, and I'm interested in your perspective on this as well.
Yeah, no, I think neighborhoods are really an impactful piece. Trent and I were neighbors for 5 or 6 years. We knew of each other for a while, but we were able to connect and build a really strong friendship just from being, neighbors with each other. But I think there's that sense of community, right? You're building a community with the people that are around you. For me, I think that's really important. The ability to be able to walk and get certain places. I'm thinking about where the current high school is right now. I'm hoping there's some other stuff that are gonna come in on that side of town. I lived over there for 7 years and having to run across town for everything. No gas or one gas station. Not really any food options, things like that over there. It does add some challenges, right? If you don't have some of that mixed use mixed in there. So I'm hoping there's some of that stuff that can start to spread over towards that side of town, especially with, Abe Lincoln still being there. But yeah, I think having that sense of community with your neighbors, with people around you, is really important. I live by Northeast Park now. Actually, my backyard is the baseball diamond, which is pretty fun for me, being a baseball guy. But it's just the energy around just talking to your neighbors and all that. I grew up on a gravel road in the woods, so this was not my experience growing up. I enjoyed solitude and quietness and birds and the creek going by and all that fun stuff. I miss it, but I do enjoy having neighbors like that and all that. I don't know if I specifically answered your question the way you were looking for, but
yeah, I mean I appreciate that, and I also grew up and not a walkable distance from places up on the bluffs in Marabou. May I also ask like your perspective on that from I'm thinking about the infrastructure components, and I guess I also look at it as like kind of taking housing to home, right? Like that component.
Yeah. I mean, definitely the futurists when he talked about that, what it was not looking for dream homes, but dream neighborhoods now, and how there's maybe a shift in the youth of like wanting to have more of that community feeling in where they're living and not necessarily having the big, vast, wide open kind of independent house infrastructure. And that's one thing I think on the city perspective, often trying to have that mind shift of not always just looking to building like new neighborhoods, but taking like what we do have in the infill and where the infrastructure exists to kind of reinvent or relook at repurposing that can be good. And similar to like the sense of community and where you talked about like ownership, the more that you also care about your neighborhood and the people around you, the more that you're going to own and reinvest into that community as well and care about where you're at.
Dan?
I think with that, in the question that we were asked to kind of answer, we talked about And we saw the same people, whether they were friends' parents growing up or, the coaches and that. But one of the things I've noticed in my community as it turns over to younger families, some are really engaging and some stay to themselves and, won't even say hi if you pass them on the street. And my wife, she talks to everyone and can get life stories out of everyone without even trying. And she even has trouble engaging and connecting. So I think it goes beyond infrastructure because we have sidewalks in our neighborhood. We have, a safe spot for kids to bike in that. But I think it's creating those spaces, both physical and just in general, where it's safe to connect with community members and encourages that whether it's a park or, a picnic. I think we were talking about like what we had growing up isn't necessarily what we see in bigger communities. And I said, even depending where your community is within Monroe or Greene County, you have that or you don't have that. I think it's all based on those opportunities. And I think I see that a lot professionally where folks struggle to build those social connections that, a sidewalk and the infrastructure helps, but it's not going to solve the issue. It's how do you make that space where they're welcome and feel part of the community.
Yeah. Completely agree. Completely agree. I think like I'm just I also consistently think sidewalks don't solve everything by all means, and I also think they can be helpful. And so it's that aspect of infrastructure that I just like wonder about from the neighborhood side, like how that fits in. So I appreciate like the conversation.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you. Thank you all.
I also appreciate the questions because I was seeing a lot of kind of overlap between the three neighborhoods and Christian and when I was looking for a house, I didn't really think about either one. But like my neighbors came up to me the day